Have you ever wondered why even after a big promotion or major achievement, the fulfillment fades faster than expected? According to a Gallup report, nearly 85% of professionals feel disengaged despite climbing the corporate ladder. The truth is, in today's high-stakes, success-obsessed culture, achievement can become a treadmill. You're constantly running, but never arriving. You chase promotions, accolades, and praise, yet something essential remains missing. Could it be that what we're really after isn't recognition, but meaning? As the philosopher Seneca once said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Caroline Goiter, a leading voice coach and author of Gravitas, invites us to rethink how we define success, not by trophies or titles, but by how deeply aligned our actions are with our true purpose. Her work is grounded in helping high performers, from actors to executives, master pressure with clarity, not control. She shows us that true confidence doesn't come from eliminating fear, but from moving through it with focus and authenticity. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, preparing to leap into a vast ocean. That's what pressure often feels like, every decision heavy, every risk daunting. But elite performers don't wait for the fear to vanish, they dive in with practiced intention. Instead of reacting to stress, they respond with grounded habits. Think of pressure as a wave. You can either let it crash over you, or you can learn to surf it. Tools like quieting the inner critic, staying anchored in values, and practicing composure are not just resilience tactics, they're performance multipliers. Ask yourself, whose version of success are you chasing? Are your goals shaped by genuine curiosity and contribution, or by the urge to impress and outpace others? When you shift focus from external validation to personal mastery, pressure stops being a threat, and starts becoming a catalyst. After all, isn't the real win learning to perform not for applause, but from purpose? So here's your call to action: take the reins back. Define success on your own terms. Develop habits that quiet self-doubt and anchor you in intention. As Goiter teaches, it's not about being fearless, it's about acting with courage despite fear. Mastering high-pressure performance isn't reserved for the elite. It's a skill, and it starts with your choice to lead from the inside out. Because when you perform with purpose, not only do you rise, you inspire others to do the same. About the author. Jim Murphy is a renowned performance coach with a focus on mental conditioning for top-tier athletes and high-level executives. A former professional baseball player with the Chicago Cubs, Murphy later shifted his career to coaching, bringing his expertise to organizations like the Texas Rangers and even the Olympic stage. His insights into peak performance have been spotlighted by major outlets including Sports Illustrated, USA Today, CBS Sports, and Axios. Key Takeaway 1: Why chasing success won't make you happy, the hidden truth about fulfillment. Imagine standing in a packed stadium with thousands cheering your name, your face lit up on giant screens, and a lucrative contract in your hand. You've made it, or so you thought. That was Joe Ehrmann's reality during his NFL career. Yet behind the glory, he felt a gnawing emptiness. According to recent studies, a staggering number of high achievers report feeling unfulfilled despite outward success. Ehrmann's story exposes a deeper truth: external achievement doesn't guarantee internal fulfillment. In fact, it often masks a profound lack of purpose. As he stepped away from professional sports and into coaching, Ehrmann began to question the values he had once embraced. He realized he'd been living a script written by cultural norms that equated masculinity with dominance and self-worth with achievement. Success, he reflected, felt hollow when it wasn't tied to meaning. Drawing wisdom from thinkers like Viktor Frankl, what man actually needs is not a tensionless state but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal. Ehrmann shifted his focus. He found purpose not in status, but in service, helping young athletes become not just winners, but better human beings. This revelation isn't unique to Ehrmann. Many people chase status-driven success, unaware they're caught in a cycle of endless validation. The world encourages us to accumulate accolades, titles, wealth, yet offers no guidance on how to feel whole. The finish line always moves. What if the goal isn't to finish, but to orient your life like a compass, not a stopwatch? Instead of racing for approval, imagine walking toward alignment, where progress is defined by self-knowledge, not applause. Of course, shifting this mindset is easier said than done. Fear clouds judgment, especially when we tie our identity to performance. Thoughts like "what will they think?" or "am I enough?" create hesitation. But self-doubt often stems not from incompetence, but from over-surveillance of the self. The most grounded performers aren't obsessed with their image, they're absorbed in their mission. They're not performing for approval, they're living from purpose. Yet the mind itself can be a formidable opponent. 3 internal voices sabotage growth: the trickster, who replays past failures; the critic, who turns small missteps into identity crises; and the monkey mind, which scatters focus and fuels anxiety. These patterns don't mean something's wrong with you, they're simply habits of thought. But awareness is the first antidote. As the Stoics wisely said, you become what you give your attention to. And when your attention turns inward toward growth, clarity, and purpose, fear starts to lose its grip, and real freedom begins. Key takeaway 2: How to master fear and perform under pressure. Mental toughness lessons from Lewis Pugh. In July 2007, Lewis Gordon Pugh stood barefoot on the Arctic ice, facing a death-defying challenge: swimming 1 kilometer in sub-zero waters at the North Pole. Scientists warned that his body could shut down within minutes. His fingers were already damaged from earlier cold water attempts. Every voice in his head screamed retreat. But when he stopped focusing on failure and locked into his mission, raising awareness about climate change, everything shifted. That singular emotional clarity transformed fear into fuel, and with every stroke, he proved the power of purpose over panic. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Pugh's story illustrates this truth. His body had limits, but it was his mind that broke barriers. Success under pressure isn't just about physical ability, it's about mental discipline, emotional commitment, and situational presence. Harvard psychologist Dr. Susan David notes, "Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. And it's those who stay fully engaged, even when fear whispers loudly, who make the greatest impact." Consider this: what makes one person crumble while another rises during the same crisis? It often comes down to perspective and focus. Think of fear like static on a radio: loud, disorienting, but not permanent. The more you try to eliminate it, the more power you give it. Instead, high performers shift their attention outward, to a mission, a team, or a long-term vision. This mental reframe allows them to act with clarity even when the stakes are high. But mastering fear requires more than intention. You must unhook your self-worth from outcomes. The ego, craving control and applause, sees failure as a threat to identity. That's why it resists risk. Yet those who succeed long-term treat failure as feedback, not a verdict. They don't measure progress by perfection, but by presence and persistence. Just like a jazz musician flows through mistakes mid-performance, resilient people adapt in real time without letting fear hijack their rhythm. So ask yourself, are you chasing achievement to prove your worth, or are you driven by something deeper? Because when your focus expands beyond self-protection, when your energy is aimed at contribution, excellence, or mastery, fear can no longer dominate the stage. As the samurai believed, true strength isn't just physical, it's mental clarity in the face of uncertainty. Focus not on silencing fear, but on serving something greater, and watch how courage follows. Key takeaway 3: How Muggsy Bogues rewired his mindset to conquer the NBA, mental strength mastery. Imagine standing just 5 feet 3 inches tall and being told you don't belong in the NBA, then going on to play 14 seasons at the highest level of professional basketball. That's the true story of Tyrone Muggsy Bogues, who rose from a childhood surrounded by violence to become a legend in a sport dominated by giants. At just 5 years old, he survived a shooting in his Baltimore neighborhood, and instead of letting trauma or size define him, he mastered the only thing he truly had power over: his mental game. Bogues' success underscores a fundamental truth shared by performance coaches and psychologists alike: emotional mastery is a key driver of high achievement. As psychologist Viktor Frankl once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." Most people react impulsively to stress, letting emotions dictate behavior. But elite performers learn to regulate their internal state, staying focused and composed under pressure. This emotional control is what allows them to think clearly and act effectively when others crumble. But mindset isn't just a mental game, it's physical, too. The way you carry your body shapes how you feel. Ever notice how slouching invites doubt, while standing tall with steady breath cultivates confidence? Bogues embodied this principle. He trained his posture, his breathing, and his visualization routines to reinforce belief in himself. Just like a sprinter visualizes the finish line before the race, mental rehearsal rewires the brain to expect success. It isn't wishful thinking, it's a neural blueprint for performance. That same blueprint played out in the story of Calista Balco, a college softball player who kept failing against legendary pitcher Cat Osterman. Instead of letting defeat dictate the future, she turned inward, practicing mental rehearsal and visualization until her mind could no longer distinguish imagination from reality. When she finally faced Osterman again, she nailed a game-winning hit. Was it luck? No, it was trained belief meeting opportunity. So what's stopping you from building that kind of mental edge? Could it be that your own beliefs are quietly working against you? The subconscious mind is always listening, and it tends to confirm the story you keep telling yourself. But here's the good news: stories can be rewritten. Through affirmations, anchoring techniques, and habitual visualization, you can shift your inner dialogue from doubt to conviction. As author James Allen wrote, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you, you'll be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." That's the power of mental toughness, and it's available to anyone willing to train for it. Key takeaway 4: How Captain Sully mastered pressure and landed Flight 1549, the power of mental focus. On a frigid January morning in 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 departed LaGuardia Airport like any routine flight. But just minutes later, a flock of geese disabled both engines at 3,000 feet. With no thrust, no time, and New York City below, catastrophe seemed certain. Yet Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger didn't panic. Instead, he leaned into his training, silenced his fear, and focused on one objective: keeping everyone alive. His miraculous emergency landing on the Hudson River, where all 155 passengers survived, became a powerful case study in how calm, focused minds perform under pressure. Sullenberger's heroism wasn't a result of luck, it was the culmination of years of mental preparation. As ancient Roman philosopher Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." High-stakes excellence, whether in aviation, business, or sports, isn't just about talent or knowledge. It's about mental clarity when it counts. Our minds are wired to spiral into what-ifs and regrets when the heat is on. But elite performers like Sully train themselves to remain grounded in the present, where decisions are sharpest and instincts are most reliable. So how exactly do you stay focused when the stakes are sky high? Start by simplifying your mental landscape. Too much thinking creates static, slowing reaction time and muddying your decisions. Ever notice how athletes in the zone seem almost effortless? That's not by accident. They've trained to quiet their minds, filtering out the noise to act with precision. Redirecting attention to physical cues, like the tempo of your breath or the bounce of a basketball, can anchor you in the now, short-circuiting anxious loops and sharpening performance. Pressure isn't the enemy, it's the amplifier. The best don't try to remove stress, they reframe it as fuel. When your body interprets pressure as a threat, it tenses up, shrinking your capabilities. But if you view a challenge as a chance to rise, something shifts. Stress transforms from a burden to a boost. Just like Sully saw a window of possibility where others might have frozen, you too can train your mind to use pressure as a springboard. The real question is, how will you respond when it's your turn in the cockpit, when the engine's cut out metaphorically in your life or career? Will fear lock you up, or will you lean into your preparation and perform with clarity and courage? Mental toughness isn't born, it's built. And the ability to focus in chaos might be your most important skill of all. Key takeaway 5: Why mental grit beats talent, the mindset of champions like Karelin and Jordan. Imagine dominating your sport so completely that you win 887 matches and lose only twice. That was Alexander Karelin's reality in Greco-Roman wrestling. But what made him legendary wasn't just his size or power, it was his brutal mental discipline. Karelin trained so relentlessly that every competition felt easier than the suffering he endured in practice. His mantra? Make training harder than any opponent. That approach didn't just build strength, it forged an indomitable mindset. And it's a lesson far beyond wrestling. Mental toughness is the real secret to elite performance. As Greek philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." While talent may give someone a head start, it's the daily commitment to growth that sustains long-term success. Whether you're chasing excellence in business, leadership, or art, tying your identity to external rewards like promotions or praise is a trap. They're fleeting. True fulfillment comes from focusing on self-mastery, continuous improvement, and inner character. When your mindset shifts from validation to progress, achievement becomes a byproduct, not the sole purpose. Naturally, failure enters the picture. But champions don't treat mistakes as threats, they treat them as feedback. They detach emotionally, study what went wrong, and adapt. It's not about avoiding struggle, it's about leaning into it. Think of Navy SEALs who willingly train under extreme stress to build both physical and mental resilience. Or Michael Jordan, whose legendary work ethic uplifted teammates, not by demanding greatness, but by modeling it. Elite performers know that struggle is the price of greatness, not a sign of inadequacy. Leadership, at its best, follows the same path. Great leaders don't just excel personally, they elevate others. Whether it's creating an environment of trust or helping people push past limiting beliefs, leaders become catalysts for growth. Abraham Maslow's studies on self-actualization highlight this clearly. Those who find meaning in growth, not just results, achieve deeper fulfillment. The goal isn't domination, it's development, both individually and as a collective. So what truly defines success? Is it being better than others, or being better than you were yesterday? Olympic swimmer Ian Crocker discovered that the pressure to win dulled his love for the sport. Only when he refocused on mastery over medals did joy return. The takeaway? Stop performing for approval. Start growing for yourself. That mindset doesn't just build high performers, it builds lifelong fulfillment. In summary, in a world obsessed with success, accolades, and outward achievement, Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy cuts through the noise to reveal what truly drives greatness. Drawing from the mental strategies of elite athletes, leaders, and performers, the book uncovers a deeper truth, that mastering the mind, not just the craft, is the foundation of lasting performance. It's not the scoreboard that defines you, but the quiet power within. Murphy shows us that the constant chase for validation, from promotions, likes, medals, or applause, often leaves us empty. Like NFL player Joe Ehrmann, who once believed that masculinity and success were defined by dominance and recognition, many of us follow a path shaped by culture instead of conviction. But Ehrmann's transformation into a coach who nurtures character over winning reminds us that fulfillment comes from integrity, connection, and purpose, not public praise. Throughout the book, Murphy shares gripping real-life stories, like endurance swimmer Lewis Pugh, who swam a kilometer in Arctic waters, not through sheer physicality, but by mentally aligning his mission with his movement. When fear is replaced by clarity of purpose, something extraordinary happens. The same is true for Captain Sully Sullenberger, who landed a plane on the Hudson River, saving 155 lives. In both cases, staying present under pressure changed the outcome. Murphy emphasizes that pressure doesn't crush you, your response to it does. Through the lens of legendary performers like wrestler Alexander Carrell and NBA player Muggsy Bogues, he dismantles the myth that talent alone wins. Carrell trained harder than anyone else, while Bogues rewrote his story through belief, visualization, and fierce discipline. What they share is not just skill, but a refusal to let limitations define them. Key to that transformation is learning to silence the mind's greatest enemies, the trickster, the critic, and the monkey mind. These inner saboteurs feed fear, distract from purpose, and hold you back from excellence. But when you learn to recognize and release these patterns, you reclaim your attention, and with it, your power. Murphy introduces tools like visualization, anchoring, and affirmations to rewire how we experience stress and failure. He reveals that performance under pressure isn't about eliminating fear, but about using it as fuel. When we focus on growth rather than perfection, setbacks become lessons, not limitations. Our identity shifts from outcome-driven to purpose-driven. Ultimately, Inner Excellence invites us to redefine success, not as winning at all costs, but as showing up with intention, resilience, and heart. Whether you're an athlete, entrepreneur, artist, or simply navigating life's demands, the message is clear: greatness begins within. It's not about proving anything. It's about becoming the best version of yourself from the inside out. So if you're ready to stop performing for the world and start performing with purpose, this message is for you. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel to spread the message, because we rise together when we grow together. And if no one told you lately, remember this: you are loved, you are worthy, and you are spectacularly capable of extraordinary things.